I had a great chat with Patrick Dundas there this evening. I would highly recommend go grab a cup of coffee or tea and pop this on as a podcast because you definitely will not want to miss it. Patrick has made waves in 2024, securing an impressive second place in the ARI Solo Sports Series. In this conversation, we'll talk about his journey to the podium. We'll also talk about some injuries that he's had over the years and returning back to sport from that, and also his triathlon career and the win of the team event as well this year. So lots to talk about with Patrick. Let's get to it, guys. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Brian, how's things? Good, yeah. All good here. How are you?
Sure, I'm not too bad now. I'm not too bad. Tearing away.
Yeah.
How's the body after the season?
It's okay. I'm kind of finished with Sea to Summit there about a month ago, but just the last month I haven't. I've been out a little bit for a run on a bike, but just kind of taking it very easy. Well, I say very easy. I drop into the odd Zwift race and destroy myself, but I'm not doing mad volume of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's enjoying the little bit of a rest.
Well, I think it's needed because, I know you do a bit of triathlon, so between triathlon and the adventure racing season, like it starts in March, it doesn't finish till November. It's a long season to be at the top of the game and, keeping your fitness high.
Yeah, true. I mean, like the first race is probably Kenmare in March, and then you're building kind of January and February as well, just starting to get into the swing of things. Like you'll be sitting on the couch plenty over Christmas, but then kind of once January comes, it's nice to have a race early in the season just to focus the mind a little bit. But yeah, it's long. Like if you're starting in March and then finishing in November, it's you need a bit of a rest at the end of it.
You definitely do. You'll be well able to enjoy the Christmas, so Patrick. That'll
Yeah,
be one thing for sure.
well,
Yeah, for sure. So, Patrick, just a little bit about your history. I think after our chat, I obviously know you a bit from the races and bumping into you and that. So I know as we were talking that you had played a bit of GAB before.
yeah. I think kind of I suppose most young lads it's like you're coming through with somebody again. It's depending on what part of the country you're in. It's either hurling or football. So I'm Clare, so it's hurling for me. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that we played at underage up until maybe kind of 16, 17, and once I went to college, just kind of fell away from it a little bit, and then came back to it for a few years after college. So that was kind of the start of the exercise and stuff like that.
I suppose that got you into it all. Like, and what club would you be in, Clare?
Partying, so it'd be
Parking.
yeah.
Very lucky, just on the other side. Like,
But
there's a hair's breadth in it.
had to fight the border a couple of times, but yeah, we're just about all the man.
Just about now. I mean, we're Limerick are coming looking for it. Um, and what like I know you got into adventure racing, and I think you do a bit of triathlon. Was there running previous besides, let's say, was there any athletics in your career, or was it just GA and then you found triathlon adventure racing?
Yeah, it was just there was no running or athletics. It was literally just the hurling. Yeah, it was hurling, and like when with mum at home, like she kind of three goals for her kids. Like she wanted us to have an education, she wanted us to learn an instrument, and she wanted us to learn to swim. So that's
Okay.
the only other sport that we really would have had. Like would have been swimming in the GAA. There's no running. Like there's times even when I'd be running now, and I'm just like, geez, we actually are never taught how to run. Like,
Yeah.
you know, should I be going back getting a coach to try and teach me how to run? But it's going okay. But like I'm sure there's bits that you could learn with it.
I think you're doing okay, Patrick.
Yeah,
I think the running's fine, to, to be fair. So when was your first adventure race? And how, I suppose, what got you into it? Was it a case of a couple of friends together? Did you see something posted up online? And what was your first adventure race? Like, what brought you into it?
I to be honest, I can't really remember what sparked it, like or where I saw it advertised, but it was Quest in 2020. And it was the Challenger, like the same way 99% of us will get into the adventure race, and it'll be one of the shorter distances. And it was myself and my cousin Garrod that just took a notion, decided, right, we're going down doing this. Loader, like, I don't even know if we'd much training done. I think like he would have been doing quite just running training himself anyway. And I'd had a bike for a couple of years at that stage. Not doing any real specific training, just like I think I got the bike and the bike to work in 2017, and it sat in a spare room in the house for at least a year with just the usual coats or something hanging on it. It didn't leave, like I did nothing with it. And then again, just took a notion one September and started cycling. So probably a couple of years just out and about in that. But we decided we'd do it and loaded up the car. My uncle Ger brought us down on whatever the Saturday morning and powered away, did the Kenmare Challenger. So that's kind of where it started. Yeah, that was the first one. Like, and it was great. Like, it was really, we kind of we kind of worked together more or less. We just kind of stayed together for the race, and it was fantastic. I mean, there's great buzz around, especially afterwards then as well.
Yeah, there's always a good night after the races.
Yeah.
So was it the night that brought you back for the second round, or was it the type of race that brought you back for another round?
There was a long gap between the first and the second one. Like, I mean, that first one, that was probably one of the last things that happened before COVID. That was the first
Mm.
week of March 2020. And I'd say we probably had something else. I think we'd probably lined up Loughdorg in September again because we're Clare. Now he's living in Mayo, but Clare, Loughdorg would be a local race. So I think we'd one eye on that, which everyone knows now everything went awry in March. So like the next one then was I did a Quest 12 there in August of 21. So like did nothing in 2020. Again, there was nothing really on. And it was still kind of slow enough starting back in 21. I think most of the main, like the Kenmares, Glendalochs, all of them, I think they were still cancelled early 21, but Quest 12 was running and there was a lot less. I think maybe 200 people did it, or maybe, yeah, around that. But that was a longer distance one.
Yeah,
Again,
what got you like that's a big jump from a challenge,
yeah,
Patrick, into a 12-hour adventure race, and especially down there in Beara, like fairly hilly, really tough terrain. You're crossing over to an island on the kayak. Would you have even done much kayaking?
do no kayaking. Like the only kayaking I would have done was on a school tour when we'd be 12, kind of a job. You know, that's the extent of my kayaking training. And the last time I would have been on a kayak would have been, just did we even get to do the challenge route in 2020? And all that I can't remember whether I think we did get out, and I think it might have been cancelled soon after just because of the wind we came across the bay. But no, my kayaking skills wouldn't be. I was just praying I was in a kayak with someone who knew what they were at.
Oh Lord, that's gas. So off you went. You toddled on down to Beara. You get to the start line.
Yeah, I think with Bear, I think it was the fact that like everything seemed to be cancelled everywhere, and it's just like I just need something to focus on. It's like, you know, everything else would kind of go on a bit wild. It's like, at least if I have this, I can just aim at that and there'll be a bulk of time that will go into it. So, like, I was just training away for that. Doing, like, there was no strict running training, like any program or plan. The same, I think, with the bike. I was just like, I'm just going to do enough of it. I'll just get out on the run, get out for the bike. And there was a lot in with nutrition for that one. No, I say nutrition, like, we did. I think it started with a long enough run, and then the first bike was very long. It was like 80k, I think. But you were at the first transition, like you had a box, and sure, I was eating granola bars. I remember I was like, I need carbs, so I had like a rack filled with like tomato sauce or relish and pasta. I was like eating pasta wraps because I was like, I need to eat loads of carbs. But for me, that day was really the only target I had. I was like, I want to try and make the cutoff. I think it was 2 o'clock was the cutoff for the second run. And I think I came in like maybe half an hour before it. And like for me, then I was just like, listen, we've done well enough with that. But I finished it anyway. Like, I finished the run, bike back into Beara, into the kayak. The run around the island was amazing. But like, we were blessed with the weather that day. Like, it was just perfect. Like, sunny day and like the scenery. And like Ollie puts on fantastic events. So it was just everything was perfectly done. Really, it was great. But that was yeah, it was a big jump from the challenge to the long distance one. Like if the races hadn't been cancelled, I would have just progressed through like sport expert maybe. But yeah, no, that was really cool. Like, and that was the same. It was around the same time that I did the first triathlon. And so like I did,
Okay.
yeah,
So they were in and around the same time.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I would have done a triathlon in 2020 if there'd been one on, but again, all cancelled. So I did. There was a local one in Castle Connell there in Limerick, World's End, and it was a sprint distance one. So the 750 swim, 20k in the bike, 5k run. And yeah, just got through it, kind of died. Like the run would be always, well, not always, but it's the weaker discipline, I guess. The bike I'm a bit stronger on, and then the run is a little bit off. But yeah, just like did that as well. And my swimming would have been okay. Like I know for most people, the swimming is kind of the bogey for triathlon, but I think just with Mem kind of pushing that she wanted us to have swimming lessons when we were kind of 10, 11. And I'm not one of these that are just like, oh, I was swimming when I was younger, and like there are lads that have been swimming for 10 years and they're just like nearly elite athletes. When they come off the back of that, like I did the swimming lessons. I did like maybe a year just potting around after. It's not a mad bulk of swimming, but I had the swimming, which was great. Like if I hadn't those lessons, I wouldn't have been able to do that either. And then Limerick Tri Club is the local tri club, and like they're fantastic as well. They would have had, and sorry, there's another local one as well. There's Go Troy out of Shannon, so I would have swam with them for a couple of years too. So the swimming was there for that. So yeah, the two of them kind of started around the same time.
Yeah. So you'd know a lot of the Go Try gang then, even the
Yeah,
mountain runners. You'd probably know a few of them. They
yeah,
had two kind of groups going there. They had the triathlon group and the adventure racing group. So Paul Tierney and
yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'd have been out
Um,
with Paul a couple of times, like, but he's different grade coming down a mountain. Like it's just like a scene out of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they're floating down the rooftops. It's just
yeah,
it's
yeah.
speed of them.
Yeah, he is. He's amazing. He's a great
Yeah,
descender, like,
yeah,
I remember one year he was in Seat Summit and he had come down or what the Seat Summit, maybe it was Gale Force, one of them anyway, and he was coming down the back of Crow Patrick, and I think he done a double twisted ankle going down, but he still finished, but sure he was flying it, like absolute flying it.
yeah.
Yeah, mad, mad. So that was your first Castle Connell then would have been your first try.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
It's actually quite a nice first try because the bike is really nice and do a little bit of technicality there coming into O'Brien's Bridge as you're heading back, with the S bends coming down. But it's a nice bike spin.
yeah, yeah. So it's a little bit of twist and turn coming out of the village, but once you get out, then it's just out the Dublin Road, and Limerick Try have a TT route out that direction, so I would have done that the same year. So
Yeah.
like, if there's ever again like super nervous about doing it, just trying to tie it all together. It's just like, John, if I'm ever going to do one, at least this is a local one. And like I had been out a couple of times with the swim, like knew the swim and the bike. I couldn't have got roads that I was more familiar with. So it definitely made it easier with that, like just to take some of the anxiety out of actually doing the event.
Yeah, for sure. Question for you. Hmm.
Yeah,
So, did you wear cleats or did you wear runners for your try on the bike?
I can't. Geez, I can't remember. I'd say I'd say I wore cleats.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say no, just about no with cleats. I was cycling 2 or 3 years before I even tried them. It was
yeah,
always flat. I'll never forget the first time I put them on. UL is very close. Like it's about half an hour of a cycle from where I am at home. And it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm going out for a meeting with the group for swimming. And outside the back of the house, dark, clipped in the right foot, clipped in the left foot, fell straight over, bust my hip. I was like, this bike can go on. I nearly fired the bike into the ditch, but I just got off the bike and I went back into the house and went into bed. I was like, nah, I'm done. Like, couldn't, like, hated the cleats at the start. But yeah, and I've fallen over a couple of other times and you just forget that you're clipped in, like, and not to be moving. But once you get used to them, like I love cycling the cleats now, Joy. Just that pull, you can like go completely through the phase it makes for cycling, it's great. But yeah, the first time I was cursing, like I was launching the mic after the first time with it.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. And do you actually do you cleat or do you wear flat pedals for the adventure racing, Patrick?
No, for the adventure racing, it'd be flat pedals.
Mm.
I did wear the cleats for the Quest 12 there, but again, that was like you're doing 80k of a bike, and then I think it was maybe 30 back in, so it's a different animal with that. But like sport distance is the one that I primarily be doing. But even if you're doing the expert or the challenge, like I'd go with runners and flat pedals all day.
Yeah.
But I do have, they're called power grip pedals. So just across the top of the pedal, there's the strap, you know, anyway, the strap, and you can just put in your foot and twist, which I really like because, well, for one, you can still kind of pull through the phase of the power stroke. But the biggest thing that I like with them is that if the gearing isn't right in the bike and it's just a little bit jumpy or you hit, even if you hit a bump in the road, your foot doesn't come off the pedal. Like your foot is still held in the pedal, and it just, again, for me, it's just that little bit of, I find it better and a little bit safer. You don't, your foot doesn't slip out completely. So yeah, flat pedals and the strap across the top.
Yeah, I totally agree. I used to use the old cages
Yeah,
back in the day. That's kind of what I had, and I never changed when I saw the power grips and stuff like that. But even with the cages, once you can, get a good grab down on them, as you say, when you're in that power phase, you can get a bit of a pull up in them. So they do help.
yeah. And like with the, if you are like using the clip-in shoes, like in your bike shoes, and then change it for runners, you're carrying your runners around for the day on your back, and like the time you lose changing shoes, like it's grand changing them in your kitchen, you might be a little bit quicker, but again, on the day, like say for Kinmare now or even Killarney this year, like it's so cold, like my hands will be gone. Like I'll be there for ages trying to tie buckles or bows. It's not
Yeah.
just one pair of shoes and work away with that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like I think there was only one race that I ever cleated for, and that was Achill Quest or Achill Roar in the day
Yeah.
up in Achill. That was the only one. There was one bike section. It was the last bike section. There was only one, and it was at the end of it. So you
That
might as
must
well
have been,
throw on.
yeah, that must have been a really cool race. I haven't, is it a while since that was running or?
Yeah, so it was originally done by Ackleroar. Paul Mahon had it, and then Ollie Quest took it over and did it for a couple of years. But yeah, it was magnificent. I have to say, the mountain run was epic. Like you were literally looking at the sea down the side. It was, yeah, epic run. Yeah, really nice. And you're running across the beach, you're going up across the mountain and coming back down. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. Now the kayak was short, but
Okay.
you know, we
Uh,
still kayaked. It was great.
yeah.
And the bike was beautiful. So yeah, really nice. Might come back one day. You never know.
No, I resurrected.
Yeah, for sure. So are you still dabbling away? Obviously, like we have to talk about this year's series yet,
Yeah.
but obviously, so in 21 you were doing triathlons and adventure racing. Did that continue on into 2022 then, like as you were kind of building and getting more familiar with the adventure racing scene? Obviously your fitness improving as well, like you would have had another year under your belt, I'm sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like your fitness would begin to start obviously increasing. So were you still dabbling in both with the triathlon, and was it always triathlon sprint, or did you try the Olympic distance?
Yeah, so like 2022 and 2023 were quite similar, I guess, for me, in that I did kind of split time. Well, so the training is kind of the training, but I did a similar amount of adventure races as triathlons. So I would have done like probably the four quests and a couple of more in 22 and then similar in 23. But the triathlon would have been much the same. So like there's a national series in the triathlon, much the same as there's the national series with adventure racing. So I think 22, I had one eye on not really, I was just like, I'm just going to do races off of the series rather than the other races. With the distances, it was mostly sprint distance, and I did one, I think it was just the one Olympic distance. And that was Hell of the West, which would again would be kind of a panic race with Limerick Tri Club. So I did that in both 22 and 23. That was the longest. I haven't bit the bullet and gone up to like the 70.3s or the full distance Ironman at the moment yet. But again,
Yes.
kind of yeah, that's all everyone says to me. Just like, it's only a matter of time. And like, I see how it goes. But yeah, so it was kind of sprint Olympic in the triathlon and sport distance. I did one. I think I did Glendalough at the end of 2021. I think again it was just kind of moved around in 21. The Glendalough was in like the October that year. And because I'd done the long one in Quest 12, I was like, I'm just going to do the expert route. You know, for this, why not? I've done kind of a bulk of volume. But other than that, it's like started with the challenge, did the experts, did 12, and then all the rest of the rest I've done has been the sport distance. So yeah, I would have done the sport distance in 22 and 23. But this year, then I moved away a little bit from triathlon. I think I just got a bit lazy with the swimming side of it. Like with the running and the bike, for the most part, I can just kind of go from the back door of the house and like head away and do a spin. So like time wise, it suits me a bit better. Whereas with the swimming, like I'm driving half an hour into UL and then I'm driving half an hour back, and it's taking a little bit more time. But I focused a little bit more on just the bike and the run this year, and the swimming kind of fell back. I went through little bits of phases of it just because I did two races. I did the Joy Hannon again, Limerick Tri Club one, which for anyone that's interested in getting into triathlon is like it's a fantastic one to start with because it's the sprint distance, but it's run out of UL pool. So like you're doing a 700-meter swim in a 50-meter swimming pool, which again, it's just something that most people wouldn't have access to if they're from around the area. I think there's only two maybe in the country here in Dublin. So yeah, swim is 700 meters. So you're doing, I ruin my maths now, but like as what is it, lengths of the pool. So you do that. And then you do the bike course, which is, it crosses part of that Castle Donald, the World's End, because it's out, you come out of UL, you go out to Dublin Road, come back in 20k, and then you're running the 5k's around like UL and the pitches, but like fantastically well marshaled, like super safe. And again, for the swimming, it's a little bit of a gateway for people that might be a little bit more nervous to the open water swimming. So I did that one this year as well. Got on fairly well with that. And then there was four of us from the Tri Club that did, myself, Rowan and Catherine and Shauna, that did the triathlon national team relay in Lough Outra. Miserable weekend there in, I don't know, was it June or July. But we won that. Well, we won the senior. We were the second team across the line. It was a junior team ahead of us. But so we won a national medal in that, which was like fantastic. Like, I mean, the rest of the team, they're class. Like, and actually on the day for that, I know it's triathlon, so most people would do the clip-in shoes and the runners, but I think because I was used to the flat pedals and the power grip, and the distance is a little bit shorter for the relay, it's like, Jesus, it's 7 or 8, I can't even remember, was it like 5 or 8 kilometers for the relay? So it's a short enough bike. Run is 1.5, the swim is 200, can't remember the bike, 5 or 8. And then the run is 1.5. But I was like, the time that I lose swapping shoes, like, I was like, Josh, I'm used to the flat pedals and the grip. I'm just going to work with that. And for me, it worked really well in the day. Like, when I just, like, you rack the bike, you're gone. And I use the same trail runners that I would use for the trail running events with the adventure lesson. Because it was across grass, it was a mucky, it's not your typical flat tarmac road for the Tri. So that was the triathlon side of it, and then the adventure.
Well, you had a great team there because Shauna is a super runner. I think, did she, correct me if I'm wrong, but did she not win Limerick Marathon a couple of years ago?
She could have. I know she's flying anyway. I'm not sure whether. And like Ronan and Catherine they did I think it's a sprint plus. It's like, I think, is it halfway between the sprint and the Olympic? There's a good few like distances and events at that Lough Outra one. It's a big festival of it. But like pretty sure they won. Like they came first. They were the first male and first female that morning.
Yes.
So like, I mean, they're just animals as well. Like they're class. Like, so yeah, it was a super strong team. Like they were.
Oh, massive. I remember I was on a training camp out in Spain and I met Catherine out there, and like she is super strong on the bike as well. Like,
yeah, and like how she has the time for all of it. I mean, she's like, I go to her for physio anytime
yeah,
I'm some niggles or issues, and like unbelievable at that. And like she's involved with so many teams as well. You wonder how she has the time to fit anything in.
I know. I like crazy stuff, and even seeing, I'd often see Shauna out training on the bike, like, and you're there
Yeah,
going, like, just giving it, going out on the bike on the main
yeah,
road. You're there, like, fair play to you. So, and of course they had you, who
yeah.
really strong as well, and flying it. So, um, did you get a little, with that? I say little, I mean a massive national title there as well.
Yeah, it's a national title in that in the team relay, and we Limerick Troy had won it the year before as well. It was, I think it was different Shauna, Shauna Dalkin O'Shea,
Oh, right.
it's Ross Higgins. Um, so it was and Catherine and Ronan again. So Catherine and Ronan are constants across the two, but yeah, Shauna was. I think Shauna kind of moved sports slightly this year. So I think she's more involved with like the football side of things, and Ross is very busy with other things in work, so he just wasn't training, I guess, as much. So I kind of managed to slot in and was just about able to keep things ticking over, I guess.
I'd say absolutely no fear. Yeah, I've seen you in action out there and the adventure race, and I think all four of you were an extremely strong team to have. Like, a massive congratulations on that.
Yeah,
A great title to have. So
yeah,
congratulations. That's massive. Um, and I suppose it brings us in to your adventure racing this year. So very tight at the top as well. Like, he had
yeah,
really good racing out there all season, neck and neck, I think, with Paul, and stuff like that. So maybe give us a little bit of insight of what it's like. You know, it's tough work, going around those courses, chasing podiums and knowing who's in front of you or if you're in front and all of that. I suppose give us an idea of how the racing went for you over the year.
yeah. Well, I suppose I'll just go back briefly to say 2023. Like I was just doing the races in 23, and it was Lochderg in 23 that I managed to finish third. It was behind Declan and John of Team West, and like for me that was a big shock. Like I was putting in the training, but I had no expectations going into it. I just knew that Lochderg being the home race, I wanted to do as well as possible at it, and like managed to finish third there. I think maybe second in Killarney in 2023. So then when it was coming into 2024, I was like, I'm going to put in another shift here. I'll try and put in the training and see how things go. So I guess 24 then I was like 23. I wasn't focusing on the series, but for 24 I was like you're thinking a little bit more about the races, and you are eyeing up who's there. Like I mean, there's Team West lads there that are always around. Like Paul is obviously phenomenal as well. And like there's a couple more lads from like say Westport, like Adrian and Paul Feeney. So you'll be eyeing up everyone. Like you kind of depend. You rock onto the start line, and kind of looking around like, oh, who's there and who'll be what condition are people in. So like yeah, Kenmare was the first race back in March. So like that's, I suppose, when you get a real sense of like where people are kind of at maybe after the winter. So yeah, that was March. Paul had finished first. I think Paul Feeney might have finished second, and then Declan third. And I think I was fourth. But like again, being the first race of the season, like I was delighted to be like that close. I remember coming off of the second last run. And I was kind of just looking up the bank, and I could see Paul Feeney and Declan just heading off on the bike. I was just like, I was like, the two of them will be able to work together now back in. And I knew Paul was kind of ahead because the run is out and back, so you'd kind of seen who had passed you. But yeah, that was kind of the first race, and like Paul won that fairly well. I think he had a couple of minutes. So again, it was just like, for a lot of the races, you'd be conscious of who else is out there, but you're I'm just like, I'm just going to try and get better on all my times from the races last year. As much as I can, like I'm just going to try and do the training and see how it goes. But
So
the
I suppose, Patrick, you're kind of saying there that you're kind of racing yourself first and foremost to try and
yeah,
better your own times.
yeah,
I
for sure.
suppose that's, yeah, like that's nearly a lesson to us all, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know, if we want to try and improve, it's about improving our own time, not necessarily trying to aim. If we're doing that, we're on the right track.
yeah. I mean, like everyone has good days and bad days as well. Like if you're just gauging off of, if you're like judging it off of a movable target, it's hard to know if you are actually improving or not. Like, I mean, if Paul had a bad winter of training and I finished ahead of him, that doesn't mean that I've actually been doing what I could be doing to be as quick as I can be with it. So yeah, I would be aiming like I do my own kind of, like I'd have a fair idea of like power on the bike and like times for certain things. So you kind of use those as benchmarks and then like check them maybe once or twice a year just to see how you're on the right track with the training. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, this is the time that I was away from Paul. It's or any of the rest of them. I'm just saying Paul because like Paul won the series, but like there's plenty of other lads there that are always vying for the top spots. But yeah, I'm kind of trying to gauge it off of my own times more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important too, because as you say, it's a moving target. You never know how anyone's going to be on any given day, including yourself. Like you come to the start line in all good mind that you're going to be there fit and healthy and that, nerves aren't going to get the better of you on the day or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's a great way to attack a race is more or less attack it from your own perspective and your own timing.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And like with the races, then like every race will be different. And it's not that it's just about the point you're in. Like, I mean, for anyone that's doing the adventure races, it's kind of more or less you run your own race. It's like you can't really have any benefit of, well, unless it's super windy, you could tuck in behind someone. But for the bike, like if there was a couple of friends that wanted to start the adventure race, like if you're tucked in behind someone on the bike, you're down. I don't know the exact figures, but it's a decent bit of cover, like that you're not having to push as hard. So like if you had someone that was really strong on a bike and you were a bit nervous about like, John, if you can tuck in behind them, you can work together for your first couple of races or for all of them, whatever way it works. But you can work as you can support each other out on the races as well. So like there is that aspect of it, but that kind of I can rock onto a race and be like, I think this is where I'm at. But the race dynamics will dictate who finishes at the top as well to a certain extent. Like say that instance in Kenmare, if Paul, Feeney and Declan hadn't come off that run together, then maybe the race would have been different at the top, and they could have like it can be completely different just on the timing of things. Like the Killarney race, and I'll kind of jump into the end of the season, but like the Killarney race for me, that first bike, I was working with someone else from the race just because we were similar ability in the bike. And we managed to get away. And like I was in behind him and then we rotated around and he was behind me. And like we pulled away from the groups that were coming behind because of that work. So the dynamics in the day it'll change the outcome. So it's not that you can win like, yeah, I'm gonna win this or I'm gonna finish here. You just have to see what turns up in the day as well and try your best.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it must have been fairly exciting all the same. It must have been a really good season in the sense of, you're kind of up around there. There's a good sense of sportsmanship out there. I do think triathlons, not saying that adventure racing isn't serious, it is obviously, but there's a different kind of atmosphere around an adventure race. I think probably because you're going up and down mountains, you know, it's
Yeah,
not like you're still going as flat as you possibly can, flat out as possibly can, going up the mountain. But it's just, I don't know, I think the energy around the two races are different. There's a different type of energy at a triathlon. It's more serious, it's really number crunching. It's
yeah,
there can be less chat. And I know everybody is different in how they want to start a race. Some people don't want to be talked to at all. Some people are happy to talk out the nervous energy and stuff like that. So I suppose with the two of them being slightly different in that sense, how do you find it racing between a triathlon and an adventure race? Sorry, I know I'm kind of after jumping there now.
It's good. With the triathlon, I'd echo your thoughts on that. I think with the triathlon, it feels more of like you can train in groups, or with the tri clubs, but for the race, it's more of a solo endeavor. Like the swim, fair enough. You can kind of, if you know the people you're swimming with, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to jump onto those feet, or like tuck in behind them, and I can draft off of them for the swim or whatever. Like you can do that for the swim, but after that, you're on your own. Like there's no drafting on the bike, so you just pick whatever speed you want to go, or however you're going to run to like cycle a race, and that's it. And then for the run, I'd find the same. I don't think I've ever really spoken to anyone much on a run in a triathlon. Just to, well, you wouldn't have much air in your lungs anyway for it running, but you'd never really kind of chat or say anything. It's just like you do the run, and that's it. Like you'd support, like if you pass someone and out and back, you'd be like, go on, push on. But with the wrestling, it is that bit. There is more chat in it. Like, I mean, the bikes, there's always groups in the bikes. Like even at from the front to the back, there's groups. Like, I mean, for most races, there'll be a big bunch at the start. They're kind of chatting away, or just like, is this ever going to take off? Or, how are the legs? And like, we'll see how things draw. Just that kind of just friendly banter. Like it's great. Like, and then you're kind of gauging like, who's going to put in a dig here? Like, and try and pull away. There is that crack there, and it's the same in the run. Like, I mean, the first time I met Paul O'Brien would have been in Killarney, I think Killarney in 2023, and I think I was at the front, like Killarney, with being such a long bike for the start. I think I pulled away a little bit, or was there one lad? I can't remember anyway, but I just remember being on the run, and like Paul passed me, and it was just like, come on, geez, you're flying, jump on there, keep up with me, It's like, I'm not keeping up with anything, you're on fucking cooked, like, But he was gone, but like there was that. I was like, who is this lad that just like flew past me? Like, but there was that. He was trying to bring me on with him. I was like, this is it. You wouldn't really. I don't think you get that much in a triathlon as versus now, unless you knew him, maybe. But like Paul didn't. That's my first memory of meeting Paul. Like, so like there is that. I mean, there's that crack, and yeah, it's great. Like, it's great to run races like that.
Yeah, I think they're brilliant. I think they're great for that camaraderie ship there between the racers. When you're up at the top and you're fighting for it, and even if certain people want to, I think my electricity just went. Sorry about that, Patrick. I don't know what happened. The electricity went and it all went blank, and you were probably there going, "Where's she gone now?"
I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, thanks a million for jumping back on. I really appreciate it. I suppose before we got cut off, we were kind of just talking about the camaraderie and the adventure racing, and kind of Paul passing you out saying, come on.
Yeah, back in Killarney at 23, yeah. And like we'd know each other. I mean, we'd all kind of, you get to know people that are doing the races as the races as go on. The more you do, the more you get to know people that are at it. Like, and like I know that the first one that I went down, it was myself and the cousin, but there's plenty of people you meet at it, and it's their first one they're doing it on their own, like, and you get chatting about it as well. So it's great. Like, there is that. I think everyone wants everyone to do well at them, like, or just do as well as they can. So it's great. Everyone's kind of pushing each other, and then it's the same. It's no different at any part of the race. Whether you're out the back, just you're doing the first one, you're going to finish it, or if you're at the front trying to get a top 10 or a podium or trying to win it, it's the same kind of buzz, just people pushing each other, like, to just get. They're pushing you, they're trying to either beat them, or they're pushing you to bring them on, which you like Paul was that first time. So yeah, it's class. Like, there's always a good atmosphere.
Yeah, I think they're great fun. And as you say, they're different, I suppose, in terms of the triathlon. The triathlon is very solo in terms of you're putting your head down and that's it. Whereas there is a bit more opportunity to have communicate a little bit more in the adventure racing. So
That there is that, like, again, after both the triathlon and after the adventure races, everyone is talking to each other after the race. It's just in the race for people that are just trying to start or get pushed on a bit. It is a little bit easier, I would have found, with the adventure racing, because it doesn't, like, you don't have to be stuck in your own head at the adventure racing. You're just like, oh geez, this very rough road here, or oh god, this is fast, or whatever. You can kind of, it feels more okay to say those things out loud in an adventure race, whereas a triathlon, you're kind of just more or less siloed into just doing your own thing.
yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. So having had a massive season behind you, because you really did have a really good season, you must be delighted with it.
Yeah, really, like, I was delighted with it. Yeah, I did kind of just, and again, like all the races I did, I'd improved my times from last year. Like from Kenmare all the way through to CJ Summit. Like Kenmare was, I can't remember what time I was or finished, but I know they'd all kind of improved. So like Glendalough was the second one. Glendalough was maybe the worst finish I had, but again, it's probably one of the races that doesn't suit me as well, because the end of that race finishes with more or less a 10k run. Like once you come off the bike, it's a 6k run, it's a kayak, and then a 4k run. And the one of the, like again, like I had a great year, but there's every year isn't without its issues. Like I've had issues with quad cramps in probably 3 or 4 of the races. So Kenmare was all good, but Glendalough, there was a few of us working on the first bike. Bernard Smith as well. Like, I mean, he's well known in the adventure racing. Like, he's up there in Tring. There's plenty of people coming on with his crew, Ultimate Conditioning, but he was at the front of the bike that day. Paul, and there was a couple of more of us. So I think there was kind of a group of us that came into T1 at the start. I think I might have just been a few seconds ahead. But that first run then in Glendalough, it's kind of a steep downhill section. And my quads, I've only ever had it once briefly in training, like the previous year. I didn't know what was going on. Like, just the two quads just locked. And I could barely walk. Same thing happened in Glendalough. And like, they just down a section, gone. And it was only 20 minutes into the race. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And it played like I was done. I was walking back up the hill, getting my bike and cycling back into Glendalough, and then you're just kind of, it's just like, I'll just try and walk it out. And like that again, Paul passed me, Declan passed me, Berners, there's a few more of them passed. Like, and I was like stopped just up against the tree trying to stretch out my quads to get through it. But everyone that passed, like, John, they were asking me, are you all right, John? And I was like, I'm grand as cramping, go on. But like, there was no one that was just like, good. Another fella gone that they were just running past. Like, everyone was, there was concern there for everyone. That race was probably one of the tougher ones, because I was like, John, it was leading, like I hadn't led in Kenmare. I think maybe Loch Dorga Glen the year before was the first time I'd ever gotten to the front, and it was like, this just what's going on, like, I'm going to get carried away. But Glendalough was like two of them I had been at the front, and I'm well aware that, like, for me, if I get to the front after a bike, there's people closing fast and they run behind. You're kind of running terrified, like hunted by dogs. Like, it's just, so I knew they were coming, like, but then the cramps came, and like, that day was hard, and that it was a really windy day as well. I remember, like, we're kind of like, geez, will this be cancelled or what way will it work? Just because I know there was a storm, I think, the day before, and the winds were high. But for me, it was just finishing. Like, I finished that run and I got to the bike, and I was like, I'll bike back in, and then I'll see. I probably won't end up doing the run, and then just kind of worked through it. Like, it just kind of got to the finish, and that was nearly. It was nearly as good to finish that race as it was like getting podiums in the other races, just to try and, like, I was really pleased with myself afterwards. I was like, geez, I actually endured that rather than just like saying no after the bike. But it's a bit, it is mind as well as body, but like, my body was just about able to get through those last 2 runs as well. I was like, I can get through this and that, and I didn't want to be doing damage. I didn't feel like I was doing damage, that something was badly pulled. That it was just cramps. So yeah, like, that was Glendalough, and it took me like Dingle, then it didn't happen in Dingle, which was I was delighted with. Like again, Dingle came down to tactics as well, I guess, on the bike. Big group of us going out along Slayhead. Again, another phenomenally run race with Noel down in Dingle. Like it's a pity that it's not on. It's a loss. Like I know it's one that I was really disappointed it wasn't on the series next year. But even if like regardless of my result, it's like incredibly well run, well marshalled. Like yeah, grub at the end.
And that sport race going out there like on that bike out across Slayhead, and then you're heading up Eagle Mountain. You know,
Yeah.
it's a good tester. It's a really nice tester. And if you can work with somebody on that bike, by God, you can fly out there, you know, until you hit the little ramp, of course.
Yeah. And I think, like once you get out in the sleigh head and you're turning back up from Mount Eagle, like that last section on the bike, like make sure you haven't blown the doors off before getting to like it's a steep of a pull on the bike to get up along that. Like have it in the lowering in the bike before you start with the brace, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean that is a tough one. You go up there and you're not ready for it. It's a fine little tester.
It's nice. You've a nice spin back into Dingle to look forward to after. Like I mean, it's a quick bike going back in along. But yeah, that was Dingle. Dingle was good. I think there was 1-2 for myself and Paul with that one. And I'm pretty sure Declan wouldn't have been too far behind. And like again, there's plenty of lads that are pushing at these races. Then I didn't do War. I've never done it. What does the W stand for actually?
Isn't it the Wild Atlantic? Yeah.
Yeah. It was one I kind of at the start of the season was like, what races? I said I'd probably end up doing all the races, like the 8 races after the series, but I was kind of like looking at the breakdown or run to bike. I was like, yeah, this one might suit me a bit more because there's a little bit more bike and because the finish is a shorter run than like the likes of Glendalough with the 10K.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't able to make that weekend. So that was May actually. So then the next one was Dingle, and again I'll be saying about all the rest, like another fantastic run race. They're all well run. Like, I mean, they're all well marshalled. I mean, the grub was good at all of them, which is a big plus. Like, and the crack and the chats, like dissecting a race afterwards, is great at all of them as well. Like, but
yeah, for sure.
It was my first time doing a race to glory, Kilshima. So like that was a class race, like a load of like. There's a few people at that I would never have seen at any other races. I think there's a really strong cohort in like Mayo and Donegal, kind of just made wild, like strong bike and strong running. Like they're just, you wouldn't recognise them from other races, but like you're coming up to their home turf, like you would know about it. That one started again in the quads for me with that one. Like started the GA field. You kind of run. I think it's a 10. Was it a 6 or a 10K run? I can't remember exactly for it to start. But it goes out a little bit flat for a couple of gates, then it goes uphill steep, and then there's a really sharp downhill. Same deal, like I was raging. Same deal as Glendalough. And I don't know, was it the fear of it that brought it on, or was it just going to come on anywhere? But the quads again in that downhill section, they just went like locked up again. I had to just nurse myself back to the GA field, and again, a couple of lads passing me, and they were just like, "You're all right." I'm like, "Yeah, just cramping," you know, like fucking absolutely ripping with myself. But there's nothing you can do. And I kind of, because I'd gone through the hardship in Glendalough, I was like, if I can get to the bike, they'll probably loosen out a bit and I'll probably get the finish. So that's exactly what happened. Like once I got to the bike, I was able to it didn't affect them as much on the bike. Like they're really sore, but they're not slowing me down. Whereas on the run, they slow me down because my legs are just going to stay in fairly locked. So yeah, that was another great race. Paul was at that. Paul was up the point end. I think he finished maybe second or third. There was one or two that weren't on the series that finished ahead of him with that. And then you've kind of a bit of a break, I guess. That was early July, so I didn't race again then until Lochturg. There's a couple more adventure races in between, and all like Knock Me Down, supposed to be a great race, and glad to see it on the series for next year. Replacing Dingle for for the sport distance anyway. I didn't do that one. I know Paul and a couple of other lads would have. Like, it's one I would have liked to have done, but I was just away the same weekend. Didn't really fancy. I was away in the Canaries. I didn't really fancy cutting the holiday short just to come back for the race.
No.
I did consider it.
No, for sure. For sure.
Stay away. So yeah, the big one then for me was Loughdorg. Like, again, like home race. I was like, I want to, like, kind of with the training volume. I was like, I want to be kind of tapered if I can, as best I can for this. And it was a nice block. Like, I mean, from July to September was a good block there that you can get in a decent amount of training. It's trying to find the balance between how many times you race and how many times. Like, there's only so much training you can get in a couple of weeks. Whereas if you're racing every weekend, like, you're not going to build your fitness. You can maybe maintain it, but like, the racing takes quite a bit out of you for anyone that's doing it. Like, you need a couple of days or a week rest after before you start to build up again. I'm not sure how much Paul gets to do, but like, when he's involved so heavily with the higher axes, like, he's just doing machine, like, doing all of it. But yeah, Loughdorg then was same thing again with the quads. Loughdorg, like, there's a bike out. Of all the races last year, I think the hardest biking section is that one in Loughdorg, like, for the sport distance. Anyone thinking of doing the challenge one, don't be afraid. Like, the challenge one goes out a different route. Like, there is a bit of a hill in the bike, but it's far more manageable. The sport one, like, you get up it. I think for some people, like quite a few, I'd imagine, you just step off the bike and walk it if you have to. It's, I think, about 1 kilometre long, but it's really steep. Like, and if you can get to look back at any point, the views are spectacular all over the lake. Like, it's just, don't do it on the steep section. If you come on, quickly get to the top, the view is still as good at the top once you're off that bit. But that one came off the bike. I think it came off the bike first or second with that one. Again, like, it was like, the pace was like fairly, we were fairly hopping, like, for the first stage, but the run starts with a downhill section and it's fairly steep, and quads, they didn't go as bad as they'd gone in the other races, but they're just an issue. Like, luckily enough with Catherine, like, went to her. Now, it's something I should have picked up sooner and, like, sorted. I kind of thought it was hydration at the start, that's why the quads were cramping. But I was like, with hydration, if it was at the end of a race and I was cramping, like after an hour or 2 hours, like, yeah, hydration. But it was 20 minutes into the race. I was like, surely it's not hydration. Like, it'd be fairly detailed with the day before race, the couple of days before, and the morning of. It's like 20 minutes to be cramping. I was like, probably not. But again, went to Catherine later than I should have, but glad I went. And it was just like, yeah, there's a little bit of a weakness there. Gave me some exercises to do in the gym, and that seems to have, like, sorted. I had no issues in Clarendon. I've had no issues in Sea to Summit, and hopefully going forward, like, I must get back into the gym a little bit now over the winter and just kind of build up that strength in the quads. But yeah, that was something that happened in Loughdorg. But again, like, got through that run, got onto the bike, and like, I know, like, it's home basically. Like, I would have recce'd those routes quite a bit. The bike from the Tipperary side across to the Clare side is, I'd know the route. There's a couple of little hills in it. It's fairly fast. So I managed to gain a bit of ground there, caught back up to the lead pack with that. I think I pulled ahead just before the kayak. Out in 2 Mile Gate, did the kayak, and the run then, unfortunately, was, I think, like a day or two before, it just turned out that with the works that were going on up around the Ballycogger and Woods, the route had to be rerouted. Last year it was, I think it was 8.5 kilometres of a run last year, and this year it was 10, just because of the way things had to loop. Now, if they'd cut 1.5 kilometres, I would have been buzzing. Like, cut the whole lot out of it. Just get rid of that last run. Let us bike back into Gillaloo. But no, it was 1.5 kilometres longer. So yeah, the running again, like, Paul had closing the run, which he did, and pulled through. But yeah, like, there was actually one stage where there was, like, he ended up running back towards me at one point on the run. There was just, again, the route was a little bit confusing coming back down. I think for, like, Paul just went slightly off and came, like, as I was running down the mountain, he was running back towards me. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Go down.
Go back this is like, I know luckily enough the bit he'd come up, it was he could go straight back down and I had to go the full like loop. You go up the shortcuts and you come down kind of the fire road to the loop around it. So I still had a long enough loop to go down. So like he was still fairly in the clear. Now that's not to say that I wasn't like, Jesus, I'm gonna we'll try and keep closing and see how we get on. But like, yeah, I mean he biked back in, came across the line first and was second. But that was again, like, would have had some family there after that race. Like, that was class. Like, you know, it's not often you get to do a race that close to home for the adventure race. And for me, anyway, like Lough is the only one.
Yeah. And I think it's epic too with that finish coming across the water.
Yeah, the pontoon bridge, you know, like along there, kind of bouncing up and down. I don't think we have it next year. I think the new bridge is supposed to be finished between Killaloo and Ballina, so I know we'll be going across it. So that might have been the last year the Bob went across. But again, just that was a class in the finish. And Killarney then was the reverse. So like Killarney was I finished first and Paul had finished second. So kind of wild, like the two of us were nip and tuck. Like there was other lads there for other races that had finished ahead of us, and like like just because we were 1 and 2 doesn't mean that there wasn't someone else clipping heels just behind us. Like there's like again Team West, all was there, a few of them, and then other lads you just wouldn't have seen or heard, and they're rock onto a race and they're pushing as well. But Killarney is one that's like it kind of suits me and it doesn't, in a way that like there is quite a lot of bike, but the end of it, the Killarney is probably again maybe the reverse of Lough Durgan, that the run this year had been shortened at the end by I think maybe a kilometre, which I was the year before. Paul actually caught me in the last kilometre and a half back into Killarney, so I was like, yeah, great. So it's like again, cut the last run out of it if you want. I won't be shedding any tears. But Killarney setting wise was class this year. Then the start and finish of the race was in the race course, and like the backdrop, like looking out at the mountains in Killarney was just epic. Like it was class. But that bike then, it starts with going out to Miles Gap. It's whatever 39k or 30k.
Yeah.
But it was like it was jittery at the start. There was again that big bike group going out to Miles, and like there was just nervous energy in the group. It was kind of like everyone was just like, yeah, I'm gonna try and make a bit of a go here. So like there was a few of us that were always just putting in a little bit of digs. And I know at the start I thought there was a few of us that got away on the bike. I can't remember that someone just kind of come out of pass and I was just like, oh, I'll jump on here, and like jumped on, and there was maybe, I don't know, was there maybe 4 of us that were kind of working together for a bit and like putting in, like pushing hard. Doing that for like, we probably did a minute each twice, and I was just like, right, you know, like we've definitely got a gap here. Like, and I look back and there's just 20 in a pack, like just ploughing on behind us, and my head dropped. It's like that. I'm waiting now. We'll see how things go. You know, because it's like we put in such a shift, and obviously the lads coming behind us were putting in their shift as well, and it came back together within seconds. But we were about halfway out. We're probably more than halfway out, about 15k out. And there was, I think it was a Barry Mead. Again, I hadn't seen him at any of the other races, but he made a burst out, and I was like, right, I'll try and go here, like, and managed to get onto his wheel. And the two of us ended up just working, like, there wasn't a word spoken between us until just before we got back into T2. Like, it was just seamless. It was like we were just working together. It was mutually beneficial for the two of us. So we got out to the turnaround, and like I think the highlight of my year with the racing was that spin coming back in from Miles to T2, and that it was just, I was after getting a new bike a couple of weeks before it, and like even if I couldn't be happier with it. Like even if it wasn't faster, which it is, I was like, it looks faster. It was just, it was singing, but it just felt so good coming down along Miles. Nearly forgot you were in a race. It was really just flowing. Like again, weather was great. Was it great? I know it was Baltic start.
Yeah, but weather-wise, it was good. Yeah, like the sun wasn't splitting the rocks, but
yeah, it was really cold at the start. But like coming down after that was just class, and got into got into T2, and I think that fella Barry ended up, I don't know, did he do something with his Achilles? He didn't feature for the rest of the race. I don't think he actually finished. Um, so yeah, I managed to stay ahead for the rest of the day with that. I got a couple of minutes on the bike just from that front bike pack. Like there was a good few people working that front bike pack for a finish for the first 15k, and it just pulled the gap. And then the two of us, now the two of us working, I was like, you're kind of for all the races, like, am I pushing too hard here? Like, I mean, we were only 40 minutes into a race, and like you're on the limit going up along. Like, there's only so much energy you have in the tank, even with like whatever fueling you're doing. Like, and your legs can only do so much. So I was like, geez, have I gone too hard in this bike? Like, I knew I had a couple of minutes, but like, you're just like, it's still like 2 hours. You know, like when you come off the bike and you that first run done in the kayak and you're coming back, like you still have to go up along, do that 10 kilometer run and then run bike back in and run back in. You're like, have I gauged my effort, well enough? And that's just part that you'll have to learn for yourself as you're going through the races. You'll figure out like how hard you can push and where to get your gaps if that's what you're going for. Yeah, Glenn was good. That was my first time winning one of the quest events. So I won the Dingle one that year, all right, but had a few family members down for that one as well, which always made it the sweeter. But like and the chats then after, just like, oh, do you remember that part of the race and this happened, and that was kind of it then with regards to series. Like for myself and Paul, just with the way the series had been this year, it was kind of the two of us looking at each other the whole way through the year. And like I'm sure he knew the same as I did. Loughdorg was a key one for both of us. So that's where the season kind of hinged in that. If he had won Loughdorg, which he did in the end, raging, I was hoping to win it. But if he had won, that was the season locked up, or the series locked up, because he had won so many of the ones before it. That was his 5 races. I think I don't know, he 4 wins in a second or 3 wins in 2 seconds, but whatever way it was, if he won Loughdorg, I couldn't catch him, and that's ended up what happened with it. So like Killarney, then like everyone was pushing anyway, but that was the series was locked from Loughdorg, and I was just trying to. I suppose for me it was just. For me, Loughdorg was key as well in that I was like, if I do well in this, I'll have second. Like that's not to say that I wasn't like hoping like win it and then push the season on to Killarney, but I knew if I had done well in Loughdorg I'd have second, and that's like I was delighted with that as well. But Killarney then was great, and like it finished it up then in Sea to Summit. Paul couldn't make that one. I think he had High Rocks maybe before or after. But yeah, like Sea to Summit, another class race, like just scenery for that one, getting cold, but just like, but the speed of Sea to Summit is nearly, it's in the sport series, but it's like all the other ones kind of seem to slot into the middle with regards time. They're kind of around the 2:15, 2.5 hours. Like if for what we were doing, again, like you could be out to 4 hours depending on where you are. But for us, it's kind of all around that. Sea to Summit is like 140, 145, like definitely below the 2. Like I think I was I know exactly what I was. I was 140 in 1 second this year. I was just like oh, did you break the 140? I was just like, no, like I was 1 second behind it next year. It's like I don't want to have to do it. But anyway, it's the speed they go out, that first 4K, like my running again, it's improved quite a bit this year, just with like working with a coach for the running with a friend of mine. I've been friends for years, Dan at Precision or Performance Science Ireland, who's like his class, like triathlon would be one of his key games, but like John was kind enough to help me out with the running. But these lads are running like at 340 pace per kilometre on that first 4K. Like I just watch them going after, just like good luck. Like we'll see you there in about an hour and 40. Like they're just so fast. Like. And to watch some of them on the mountain run is again they're lifting. It's they're class. They're just class athletes. Like, and there's quite a few of them up around. I think Westport in particular seems to be a real haven, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Siege Summit is like it's a love-hate relationship. You know what I mean? You love you love to hate it because you don't want to do it, but you love to be down there because it's great crack and it's that run going out, even on the experts, like, do you know, when they're it's just I think I've done probably one of my best PB 5K or 4K PBs on that run because you just get dragged along. You kind of end up having no choice. And then, as you were saying, you're trying to work out, like, you don't want to go too hard because you've a hard bike because it's a short bike out to the mountain. And it's like you're, as you say, that's a hard race to gauge.
Yeah, it is absolutely because it's not something that you would have kind of gauged in the other races. The other races, the time, like again, they're all different because like one will start with a run, one will start with a bike, different distances, all that. But overall duration, fairly around the same. Like whatever your level, like if your level is say 4 hours, the rest of them will be around that, maybe plus or minus kind of 15, 20 minutes. But see, the summit is short and it is sharp, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for the expert. Like it's a little bit quicker than the expert for the other routes as well. And like,
Yeah.
but then, you know, I'd like to say, but no, McKelvey wasn't doing it this year, but like he would have been running similar pace, and like Ferry, they're all still, even though it's the expert one, they're all still going off out at like your 330s, 340s. So I don't know, they're quick.
Yeah, yeah. But a massive season. Having said
Yeah,
that, like, you know, and great that you got down to see Summit to do it and finish off your season there. I suppose I don't think you would have had to do Sea to Summit with on the like you had enough races done at that stage.
yeah, I had enough from Lockdorg.
Yeah,
Um, Yeah, because I missed. There would have been 8 races in the series. I
yeah,
missed that war, and then yeah, I done all the rest. So yeah, there was five. It
yeah.
was, and I signed up for all of them, and I wanted to like. I mean, they're cool races to do in the crack after chat. So I was like, I'll finish it out.
Yeah, for sure. And Sea to Summit is it's kind of a bit different because there's no kayak there, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's a whopper of a race, you know.
yeah.
It's a whopper. Yeah.
And then you the like, you know, there's the dinner and the night out kind of afterwards. So everyone, to be fair, for quite a few of the races, people will stick around after it.
Mm.
Maybe a few, maybe people won't, but like there'll be a few around, so it's always nice to just if you can hang around, do. And definitely after the race, just for the hours, kind of, the
Oh,
post.
that has to be done, Patrick. It wouldn't be a race unless it was done. You know, "Ah, I saw you going up there. I thought I'd have you, and da 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 da." Yeah, but yeah, Crow Patrick is a tough mountain as well. I think it's very deceiving because it's kind of grey. So sometimes you can't see the lift in the rock. Very easy to clip a toe, like have to lift your legs there when you when you're running on that, like, you know, crazy.
More as well, so I don't really have much. I think the steps are kind of slow people down a little bit as well, but I feel like it makes you have to be more aware of your footing then as well because it's not. Yes, just have to be careful on it. Like they're all they're and it's steep. Like
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's mad. Um, Congratulations on your series. I suppose just tying up your history there between the uh,
yeah,
triathlons and adventure racing. I think we were talking there before we were on the call, and you were saying that you had a bit of a hip injury at one stage. Do you mind maybe just having a chat with us about that?
yeah. So it's probably 20. What would have been maybe 24, 25. It was kind of 2 years after college. So like again with the hurling, I did hurling to 16, 17. Went to college, didn't do anything, just like going out basically in college. Like so there was no sport really. And then when I came back from college, I went back playing hurling. And I was probably playing about a year, 2 years, maybe the second year of playing. I kept pulling, getting injuries around my hip, like jaw just grind, hamstrings, that kind of thing. And it just for a finish, that was what ended the hurling career for me. Like, no, the game didn't lose one of the greats. Like, I was always kind of just pottering around the junior B, maybe getting a bit of league time in intermediate, but like, still just again, as much as anything, it was social, loved hanging out with the lads. But because I got the injury, came back and got the injury, then I was just like, right, I'm just gonna maybe help out a bit if I can, but I'm not gonna play. And I kind of didn't do any sporting for maybe a year or so. And then I started back playing. Actually, I didn't do any sport maybe for a year, and it's like actually just I want to get this sorted. Like, so like I've been to like chiropractors, physios. I hadn't met Catherine at that stage. Catherine came much later. Like I'd say if I'd met her sooner, I might have like changed the course of what I ended up doing. But again, it was about a year going to different people, and then for a finish, got an MRI. Was recommended to get surgery. They said I had a hip arthroscopy. They said that there was too much bone growth on the actual socket wall. It was causing an impingement, so like hip impingement. And they operated on both sides, so they popped the ball over the socket, they pared down the bone in the socket, repaired a bit of cartilage damage, popped it back in, and did that on both sides. And then gave me a rehab program, and off you went. And like I did that. That's like kind of how I ended up going back into the swimming again, because part of the rehab was like to go back swimming, and ended up. That was probably the silver lining with it, like that I ended up with a group. That's how I kind of started with GoTry, with the swimming masters, like, and again, another fantastic group of people there with STL. Didn't even mention a few more of them, and I was working in Shannon at the time, so it suited. But it never really sorted the issue. I just went back to where I was pre-surgery, so I just didn't go back playing hurling. Still with pain in the hips. You know, if I did any exercise like afterwards, I was just seized up for a couple of days. So I ended up playing tag rugby was a group of friends. As a local event, Pig and Porter, in Limerick. Like again, it's a drinking fest as well as the tag rugby. It's just like, good solid crack. So I went back playing with that group, and again, like I'd go out and I'd play a game of tag or like on a Tuesday or Wednesday evening, and I'd be buckled for 4 or 5 days afterwards. Like just couldn't, like just really, really sore on the hips. And there was a friend of mine that had similar issues to what I had from the couple of years before it, and he had gone to Century. And he said, listen, he said, I went up there, they gave me a rehab program, and he said, in 4 months I was a different man. So I was like, listen, I'm going to try it. Like I wanted to play the tag, I loved playing it. And there's a really good culture and scene around Limerick with it. Like, John, I was playing with All Blaz. There's another club there, Knights Tag, and they're just, again, fantastic group. Like, there's a few of them that, like, Shane Landers runs it, and there's a few more helping out, like Tom and more of them, but just class. And just like, I want to be around this, I want to be involved, but I also want to play and just be a little bit competitive. Like. So, went to Century, and when I went up there that time, like, I met with the consultant there, told him my backstory, told him the operations I had, and he kind of grimaced a bit when I said it, and he just said, listen, he said, we see about 1,500 cases a year presenting with issues to what you're presenting with. We operate on maybe 3 of them. And when he said that, I was like, oh, God. But he said, what we found is that by adjusting the rehab program, that you don't need the surgery and that you can get the benefits and go back to playing your sport. So I went up the following week to the physio that was up there, gave me he ran me through just an analysis of my movement, gave me the program. 3 months later, like I was able to play a game of tag, and like I'd be sore after a game of tag, but I wasn't sore for 5 days. Like, but that's what that kind of changed it then for me. Like I was like, I'd be able to play tag fairly regularly, and that was 2016 that I had the operation. So I ended up playing tag for a few years, and then just kind of got the bike, did nothing with it for a year, gathering dust, and then just started cycling a little bit, and then kind of just gradually kind of phased from the tag to the triathlon and the adventure racing. But yeah, the hips are all good now, but it did take going to Century just to get it sorted. Like, so yeah, it's just trying to find, like, if you are, like, we all pick up injuries from time to time. I know for me, for training, for me, it's the most important thing for me, like outside of like doing zone specific training and getting my threshold work or VO2 max, any of those sessions, I want to be able to stay consistent with it.
Yeah.
And to be able to stay consistent, I need to stay injury free. And for that, like, it's just managing volume a lot, but like having the likes of Catherine as a physio and like Angela Hogan as a sports massage in Port Hill there.
Well, I know, like, Angela.
For the last 2 she's a saint. Like, she be kind of like the last 2 years, like it's once a month, if not more, at least once a month. Like I'll go, like if I've niggles with something, she'll be like, oh, maybe you could try this, but like just getting everything rubbed out, it's definitely part of the reason that I'm able to stay consistent with training and like podium and get the results that I'm getting. Because without her and other people around, like just to keep you ticking over, I wouldn't be able to do it anyway. I know myself I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Just trying to manage that volume with it. But yeah, it's kind of a long-winded answer to the hip sag out of the head.
No, but it's great, and great that you got it sorted. You know what I mean, Patrick? And it's so often that we think people that are, you know, on top of the podiums are like, oh, they never have any problems. But, you know, it's great to understand that you, even if you do, that you can come back and be better after them.
Yeah, it is. Like there's none of us. Like I know even I had the quads this year. I remember that same race in Glendalough, like Paul said that he had bought over the glute. That like he was running a section, walking on and walking. Everyone picks up injuries. It's just being able to manage them. And like it's getting the advice from the right people. You know, it's if you can find those people that are in your area that can give you that advice that you trust, they're gold. Like, you know,
Yeah.
And it's hard not to get disheartened by it as well. Like the worst place to be is on the sideline, like, you know, where it's through injury or for any other reason. It's just trying to like, yeah, you think you're doing everything right, and then you just tweak it and overload it. I know for me, with the running is something that I have to be very like conscious of. Like it's the one that I want to improve to close those gaps. But volume wise, that's the one that I know I'll pick up the injuries with it. And like I'll always keep an eye on volume of training. Like I'll never jack it up too much. And if I do start getting bits and niggles, like I'll be on the phone to Angela or Catherine just like to try and cut it off before it gets too bad. And when it does get too bad, which it has, you know, it's just like go to them. And it's to be honest, like I definitely find it, it's not that it's always easy, but I like getting out for a run. I like getting out for a bike. It can be so hard to do. I find it so hard to do a rehab. Just like they can be just monotonous enough. Just like, oh yeah, do this for 10 seconds, 10 times. Just like, geez, more of this. But it's the non-sexy stuff that has to be done.
Yeah.
You know, I'm good going out on a bike and doing, oh yeah, flying past someone or on a run and you're doing whatever pace in a run. You have to do all the gym stuff to build up the strength to get back from injury to keep yourself ticking over. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It is really important, I suppose, that we look after ourselves as well. You know, that if people do feel that they have a bit of a niggle, get it checked out sooner rather than later. Don't
Yeah,
leave it. Yeah,
yeah,
because it just means you could be cutting a really good season short, or if you get it looked after straight away, you could have the whole season, you know? Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
And I guess even had the chats at the race as well. Like, John, if you are like, I was just like, oh yeah, this bother. Like, someone might say, oh, I had that, John. This person, I reckon. You never know. Like,
Yeah.
back, you
It
know,
pays to talk, Patrick. It pays to
it
talk.
does. And it's free at the adventure races. There's no one to charge at the adventure races, so you're grand.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So tell us, what is your plan for 2025? Or do you have one yet?
I don't know. Like, I mean, coming up to the end of the season, I was like, in my head, I was like, right, I'll do Sea to Summit. I'll take kind of 2 or 3 weeks off, and then I'll plan 2025. And we're 4 weeks out, maybe 5 weeks nearly from Sea to Summit. And I still want to sit down with a piece of paper and just write what I actually want with the next season. Like, I mean, like, I'd be really enthusiastic for doing the series again. You know, I mean, I know there's good work going on in the background there with getting job bits of like kind of sponsorship and discount codes, and just there is that other race coming in. So that's definitely on the radar for me. But there's other races then, like, I mean, the Beast coming back. I was like, I've done that Quest 12 there, but like the idea of doing, say, a team sport like that, John, with lads that are, John, the same, just the same mindset or kind of similar interests. It's like, yeah, you could do 2 or 4 of us at that and maybe do that, but that means you'd have to skip a race maybe off of the series. It's just trying to figure it out. And then there's always like as they're all saying in the triathlon, like, oh, you'll do one yet with the half distance or the full, and like, yeah, I might do a 70.3, but like, if I was to do that, I need a new bike. I'm telling myself, bike anyway. I don't have a TV, so still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Say more than likely I'll do the sports series again. Might not do the full 8 races. I'll just kind of pick 5, maybe 6, just to have one join in the back pocket, and work with that. And then like there's just a couple of other longer distance stuff. Like there's a gravel race in the Canaries, and it's the Grand Guanche. It is just this epic cycle. You've heard of it, have you? Yeah, it starts in Lanzarote, it goes down to Fuerteventura, Gran Canaria, Tenerife, and then draws La Gomera or El Hierro. But like, it just looks unbelievable. And again, that like with the series, if you are looking at doing the series, doing it well, doing all the races, it takes up quite a bit of time. So if you do something else like the Beast or like the Grand Guanche or something completely different, or if you're playing, I don't know, hurling or other stuff, you want to try and fit it all in, and I don't want to overdo it either. Like, I want to be able to have blocks in the year where I can, like, right, I've done a couple of races, I can set this block to build up the training again, and then go into another block of races. So, I was going to say a long story short, but it's a bit too late for that. I'm not sure.
But you have food for thought. Well, I would definitely say do the Beast. I mean,
yeah.
It'd be your first, well, dependent. If you get a few more of the Go Try lads on board with you, that'd be even brilliant. It'd be great to see a few of you out there. Definitely the Racing Canaries, talked to Rachel Nolan or Kellyanne. They did it this year. Yeah. So, and I think that's actually Rachel's second time. I think she's done it before a couple of years ago. So definitely worth talking to her about it. And yeah, I think do the Beast. Forget about the gravel races. Do the Beast.
Yeah. You see, I definitely look at that with holidays. And the Beast is one that, yeah, there's a good few people that have been talking about it, and just like, yeah, that could be pretty cool. Like,
yeah. Well, fingers crossed you have whatever you decide to do next year. We hope you have all the success again, and you have a great year in 2025. Really appreciated having you on the call this evening. I suppose before I round up and say goodbye, is there anything that you'd like to talk about, or is there anything that I skipped out that you think would be good for us to know, or anything like that?
Not really. I think just I think we've kind of covered a lot of things there. Yeah, just with for anyone that's looking at getting into it, just try it. I mean, you don't have to have other people that are coming down with it. It helps, but like you'll get talking to people, John. You might not have everything right the first time, but like you'll be like looking at people like, oh yeah, I did that, and we'll bring that the next time, and then you can kind of just build up from there. And same with like fuel and kind of things. Like John, you'll see lads like we'd be going around with gels, John. Just that's a different thing. Like, I mean, you'll have plenty of fuel if you eat right the day before, you'll be fine. Maybe bring a little bit. Like, do try and have hydration tablets maybe in the water if you're doing one of the events. But like, other than that, just go and enjoy it really. You know, and you can work through it then after that. Like, just try and improve year on year and get tips as you go on. So yeah, it's cool. It's a cool space to be in. Like, it is friendly. You know, that's what I'm sure everyone will be saying here. So like, that's the thing they enjoy the most is the crack and the chats. But like, we're not lying. Like, it is there. You see it after all of the races. Like, and you can just get lost in discussions with it, and it's exciting. You know, there's people doing similar things and similar mindset, which is class. So yeah, would recommend.
Brilliant. Thanks a million, Patrick. I really appreciate you joining us this evening, and sure, we might be talking to you next year. Depending on what you do or what you don't do. If you do the gravel race, we'll have a chat with you anyway, because we'd like to hear your thoughts on it. And if you decide to do the Beast or something, so no doubt we'll be chatting next year. But thanks a million for joining us this evening.